Hi guys, in this video we are going to talk about another important aspect of game design that is often ignored but is a vital concept, that is, I'm talking about sound in games. So why sound? Why do we care about sound in our game? So we'll discuss some vital points in this video, like what sound does for a game, why should you care about sounds, as well as what to play and when to play. We'll be focusing on Code Sculptor, how to implement sounds and to choose what sound to play and when to play it, as well as how to choose sounds for your own games, how to handpick them. We are going to differentiate between background sounds as well as sound effects, and finally we'll wrap up this video talking about the various sound formats as well as references where you can get these sounds. So let's begin. The first question that arises is, why should we care about sound? Well, what sound does for us in a game? It complements the visual information and provides better gameplay. Well, that you might say when you are playing the game, but when you put your thinker's hat on as a game programmer, you might wonder what sound has the effect on your game. So, well, we can say that sound provides feedback while debugging. An example of this would be that rather than printing a hit test or that collision occurs message on the console, we can implement it using a sound. So whenever a hit test or a collision occurs, we can ping that sound to play. Another important aspect is that it helps in identifying key moments or trigger points within our games. Remember that when we play a boss or any other major aspect of game design, when important events are happening within a game, then identify how the game tone suddenly increases or decreases. So that aspect of game design is also important. So now that we realize that sound is an important aspect, the next question that comes to mind is what to play and when to play. In this slide, we'll focus on the first question of what to play. For our own game, the sound depends on the genre. So if you are developing an action or an arcade game, you should probably use lively sounds which are rhythmic, having lots of beats, noticeable volume, and in general sound happy. If you are developing a puzzle game, I would rather go for a medium to slow paced sound or with a medium volume. And if we are developing a role playing game, we should focus on sound effects. An example of this would be in Diablo, where various sound effects complement the gameplay experience. If we are, on the other hand, working on an FPS or a knockout game, which involves a lot of shooting, we should probably use a background loop with a distinctive shoot sound. So this is all about what to play, what sounds we can implement in our game. This is a general rule of thumb, but if your game does not satisfy or does not fall within these genres, you can surely experiment and talk to different people about what sounds you should implement. Now, here's a Code Sculptor example. In the previous slide, this which I'm showing you, we talked about what to play. So in the next slide, we talk about when to play. So in this Code Sculptor example, which is taken from the bounce example I showed earlier, the bounce sound, as you can notice, plays when a hit test or a collision occurs between the ball and the paddle. So we can say that one approach we can adopt is that we should play a sound or a sound effect whenever there is a collision between the two sprites which are present on the canvas. Now, in another example, which I'm depicting right now, you can see that when a key is pressed, then the walk sound should play. This is another important aspect in which we can implement the walk sound effect. So in this case, the sound gets played whenever a key is pressed. Similarly, you can think of other scenarios when we should play our sound effect. So moving on, the next question is how to choose sounds for your own games. So when picking background sound for your game, I would recommend you to listen to other games and music in general. Try to pick a sound that won't become too boring or annoying when it's played over and over. This point becomes significantly important when we are playing some shooting games. For example, when we shoot a missile or any other object, the sound effect for the shooting gets played over and over, and it shouldn't sound annoying to the user or the player which is playing the game. Another important point to consider is that the sound effect should be short and transparent. If the sound effect is too long, that several iterations of the sound effect may overlap and it may sound disharmonious. So, and what I mean by transparent is that the whole sound effect should be complete and should not be choppy in nature. Now, let's compare the two genres of music that we will encounter in our game. First is the background sound, and another category is the sound effects. The background sound is the sound effect which is greater than 5 seconds, while the sound effects last for 1 to 3 seconds. The background sound which is plays in a loop defines the game mood, while the sound effect is generally used for effects and real time, and these occur in real time. The tempo of the background music often reflects the current tempo of the game, while for sound effects they accompany events in real time within the game. So you can see that we have marked a clear distinction between the two types of sound that we often need to implement within our game. So to implement these, we would need to stockpile both the background as well as sound effects. Now we'll move on to some aspects of sound which is very important for game designer, what format of sound to use within a game. So I'll firstly talk about the four that are most popular, like MP3, MIDI, OGG and WAV. So first, talking about MP3, which is the most common aspect, you can see it is an old standby for it is generally used within our games and in our iPods, so we are clearly very familiar with it. Another sound format which is widely popular is the MIDI effect. Now this, rather than compressing the audio waveform, MIDI lists the notes to be played for a piece of music along with metadata, such as which instrument should be playing with notes. MIDI format is rather, you can say, computer voiced, so it is very effective when the sound effects need to be mechanical in nature, like that for a gunshot or an applause. The third option we have is OGG files, which we can say offers the same advantages as MP3, but with the codecs, etc., with the additional advantage of being freely available. So it is an option which is widely used in Android and recommended for use in our games. The WAV format, which is the largest by far of the four we have discussed, provides the best quality sound, but it comes at the cost of the large file formats, and it is generally not recommended for background music. So the general rule of thumb I would suggest you is to use an MP3 or an OGG Vorbis for sound effects, and for short effects you can use MIDI, and for if you want clear distinction of sound, you should go for WAV sound. Finally, here are some references sites that you can download sounds and use without giving any royalty. I personally prefer FlashKit and FreeSounds, though you can check out another sounds. Also, if you can create your own music, then MuseScore is a great site that I would personally like to recommend to all of you. Thank you, that's it. I hope you like this video.